Let's review e-commerce payment systems. A typical transaction on e-commerce has multiple constituents, starting at the bottom left, the online consumer, through the ISP or Internet Service Provider into the merchant area, which has multiple components. The online store and the database. The database handles accounts and products and all of that stuff. As well as up into the payment area, and this is where we're going to concentrate on the payment systems. Some of the typical components or organizations involved are the customer's credit card bank and then the merchant's bank, so the transfer of funds between these. Additional components that are important are the warehouse, which could be owned by the consumer, or by the merchant, or by third party, and then shipping, which could also be owned by the merchant or a third party on delivery to the consumer. All of that part, that back end piece, is important because the actual transaction cannot be posted to the merchant bank until the products are actually shipped. So that's a very important component of it. A little bit more detail on how an online credit transaction works. In this case, really focusing on security, secure lines. You'll see in item number 2, this SSL encryption from the consumer's computer through the Internet Service Provider to the actual online merchant. And then a backbone of secure line over to the clearinghouse, where the account of the credit card account or the debit card account of the consumer is actually validated, and the balances are checked at the consumer's card issuing bank, so Chase, Visa, Citibank, MasterCard, etc., and then validated. Once validated, passed over to the transaction amounts are passed over to the merchant bank. So a lot of steps, a lot of components involved. So variety of different types of payments: cash, checking accounts, credit card transactions, stored value cards, and other automated means of payment are used for all types of transactions, but not all of them are appropriate for online. Obviously, the most common form of transaction payment in the world is cash, but that doesn't really work at all online. Checking accounts, the second most common form of payment in the United States next to cash, can be used through bill presentment and what's known as ACH, Automated Clearinghouse, and that requires pre-account setup. And so that can be used online, but it's a little bit more cumbersome and a little bit more technical for the average consumer. Credit cards are the most prominent use of payment online, and they involve a lot of constituents, including the credit card associations. MasterCard, Visa are the two biggest. The issuing banks, Chase, Citibank, Bank of America, that actually deal with the consumer directly and issue them the cards. They have a piece in this, and the processing centers and payment gateways that transfer the account information and validate the funds online. All of these components take a piece of the action through transaction fees along the way. Stored value cards are becoming more and more prevalent. These are accounts where you set up and you deposit money either from a checking or from a savings account into your stored value account. This could be a store loyalty card, it could be a Starbucks loyalty card, where a value is actually used and then is debited. So debit cards, bank debit cards, work on this principle. Gift certificates work this way. Peer-to-peer payments, so handling a payment between two consumers or two merchants can be handled in this way. There's a lot more information about this in Loudon's text in Chapter 5. The accumulating balance is another way that's very popular overseas, also used in the United States. Utility companies, water companies, phone companies in particular, American Express. This is where you, through your using their accumulated expenditures, the consumers have to pay back within a certain period of time, 30 days typically. For utility and phone, you're obviously piggybacking that onto a service that's already provided American Express is typically for purchases using a card device that, again, is an accumulated balance device. So a lot of stakeholders we saw through the transaction flows shown earlier: consumers, merchants, financial intermediaries, as well as government regulators. So what are their motivations and what are their concerns? Everyone wants low risk. Everyone wants low cost. Consumers want their transactions to be refutable, so they are not exposed if, in fact, someone uses their account, hacks their account, steals their identity. They want to have a ability to refute that purchase, and that's available through Regulation Z. Up a maximum of $50 is the customer's liable for. They want convenience, they want reliability, they want to be able to pay when they need to. The merchants also want, they actually want the transactions to be final, but unfortunately they have to take the burden of providing convenience to customers by allowing them to use credit cards, because customers demand it, plus the competition allows it also. But again, security, reliability, again, important factors for merchants. The intermediaries, the payment gateways, the clearinghouses also want secure, but they also want to maximize their profit through transaction fees. And there's where there's realistic capitalistic contention between the merchants, who bear the burden of transaction costs, not the consumers, not directly anyway, and then the financial intermediaries, who charge transaction fees for processing the credit card transactions, either directly in a physical manner on a point of sale or online. And then the government regulators keep an eye protecting all participants across the ecosystem, and also enforcing reporting, also enforcing things like PCI, payment card industry standard, which outlays the rules and as well as fines for merchants to actually store, how they store credit card data, both online and in-store. Credit card payments huge, almost 50% across the U.S. Debit cards becoming bigger and bigger, almost 30%. Some of the risks I mentioned before of credit card payments: the merchant bears the transaction fees. They also bear the risk if a fraudulent purchase is made. The consumer only bears the risk of $50. There's costs on transaction fees. So a variety of online payments across the United States are becoming more and more prevalent. We mentioned not only debit and credit cards, but Google Wallet, formerly known as Google Checkout, Bill Me Later, an alternative method of setting up an account for mainly for people who do not have credit cards, but also a convenience of doing it online without going through the credit card systems. Prepaid gift cards, but PayPal, as you can see, 12.5% of transactions across the U.S., becoming more and more strong. Similar to a wallet, you set up your account tied to your credit card or your bank's checking account or savings account, and then you can do transactions. It used to be just online, but now PayPal actually is working in stores at point-of-sale devices. So we mentioned another of these, again, the most prevalent and the highest growing online alternative payment method is PayPal. Probably one of the most interesting trends, as you well know in your own life, is the use of mobile phones, but now as payment devices. These have been very big over in Europe, Japan, and South Korea in particular, for many years. The Google Wallet and now MasterPass, which is a formerly PayPass from MasterCard, again, along the lines of using your mobile phone, having your account already set up, so your credit cards, your store value cards are actually in this wallet under the umbrella of Google Wallet or MasterCard, MasterPass. So you don't have to, as a consumer, you have the convenience of just one touch, one-touch transactions, very quick, very convenient, as opposed to it eliminates the need to filling out a detailed form on the small form factor mobile phone. So very, very big. A lot of them are using near-field communication, which is a wireless chip that's actually stored on the Android devices. It's not yet on the iPhones, but also that is for a tap and go type transaction. It has to be close to the actual device, the reader. That's the point of sale device. So, and then you can also use the actual codes for your account to transact these online. PayPal is an example of another one expanding in the U.S., as I mentioned. Square is a very interesting example. You'll see it more and more in the Apple stores, where the sales associates are actually walking up to the consumers in the aisle. They have their iPhone, they have their iPad, and a little device that pops up here where you can swipe the credit card. So that's becoming more and more prevalent in the mobile area. A couple other areas: digital cash, Bitcoin, actual generating unique tokens that can be used in the real world. That's something that's not taking off in a big way, but it is a viable area. Also, virtual currencies are an interesting area. So in the virtual worlds of Facebook and Second Life, you can actually conduct transactions between other players or other avatars, buy real estate, buy animals and equipment on Farmville. Some of these can be translated into loyalty dollars through partnerships with brands that help sponsor in these virtual worlds. So a variety of different payment systems. Another area that's quite big is electronic bill presentment systems. This is where you can again use Biller Direct, where telephone companies, you set up your account with your telephone company or your water company and go onto their site online and pay them directly. You can also do that with your credit card companies. The one that I like the best is the consolidators, where a financial institution like your credit card company will allow you, or a portal like Yahoo Bill Pay will allow you to come and set up an account, put all of your bills in there, and have one place to go and one screen to go to and go through bill after bill, and that's connected to your bank account, and payments are deducted directly. So a little bit of setup there, but consolidation, single screen, single sign-on once you're all set up and approved. So a lot of bill payments are done online, 50%. The statistics say today for electronic billing presentment and payment. And then there's a variety of infrastructure providers like Fiserv, Yodlee, and as well as MasterCard is in this business too. So a variety of technology. So what are the trends that are happening? We discussed some of them. Payment by credit card and debit card still are trending as the dominant form of online payment. PayPal is the most popular alternative and then growing in the area of online payment. Startups like Square, as well as MasterPass, Google Wallet, as smartphone apps that can actually help you buy on the go, very quick and one-touch capabilities to actually pay with one click and go. So those are a variety of online e-commerce payment systems.